This is The Tyre Kickers. Classic car chat with Max and Matt.
It was the classic car design fad of the 70s, 80s and 90s, the Pillarless Coupe. Take a boring saloon, turn it into a two-door by removing the pesky central window pillar, and hey presto, it's pillarless.
The Tyre Kickers podcast with Footman James.
In this episode, I'm going to look at two of the peerless Pillarless coupes from Mercedes, the 230 CE from 1985 and the 560 SEC from 1987, in a Tyre Kickers pillar-free special edition.
Classic car chat with Max and Matt in partnership with Footman James.
Hello, I'm Max from The Tyre Kickers. Now imagine being a 1970s car designer for Mercedes. On your way to work in Stuttgart, every morning you'll see rows and rows of Mercedes W123 saloons parked at the taxi rank, and then W126 S-classes storming past on airport runs. Two solid, respectable, slightly boring saloons doing the dull job of moving people around. But car designers don't want to be boring, and Mercedes needed some sexy range-topping halo cars so they could charge lots more money but use an existing car platform. Enter the pillarless two-door coupe into the designer's imagination. Think like the Jaguar XJC, the two-door coupe made from the XJ6 between 75 and 79. Or maybe the BMW E9 3-litre CSI and Batmobile coupe, which can be partly traced back to BMW's earlier Neue Klasse saloons. Both were frameless side window designs which deleted the ugly B-pillar and left behind a fuss-free, beautiful, pillarless shape, but based on existing cars. So Mercedes did the same. They took the W123 and W126 saloons and chopped them into two-door pillarless coupes, giving us, I think, in my opinion, some of the most successful Mercedes designs of the period. Possibly ever? Discuss. They had all the glamour of a coupe, none of the wobble of a cabriolet, and with a striking clean side profile that could top the range. Plus, with two doors, no one could use them as a taxi. Now, Bruce Gretham's classic Benz happens to have two Mercedes pillarless coupes for sale, a C123 230 CE and the Brute that is the range-topping V8 C126 560 SEC. Sorry, lots of numbers and letters. So anyway, I went off to have a look. Pictures of both of these cars are on the Tyre Kickers Instagram and Facebook pages now. Here's how to see them.
You can find us at The Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and The Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
So Bruce, we're looking at the two pillarless coupes in the sunshine. Could you just describe each one of them for me?
First of all, if we start with probably the don of all coupes, which is the 560 SEC, so proper coding for this is a C126. It's a car that was in 1987, which was probably one of the most expensive coupes that Mercedes probably was building at the current time. Astral silver, blue pinstripe velour interior. I'm not really sure if it's more expensive than leather or velour was more expensive, but it's a well-spec car, 70-odd thousand miles, 3 previous owners. So that's the 560, the big full-fat 300 brake horsepower. And then if we move across to the 123 series, so the C123 230 CE, 52,000 miles, Astral silver, in almost sort of a very unusual MB Tex colour, of almost like a brick sort of terracotta colour they had at that time. It's had a full renovation done underneath. As far as we can see, it's all original paint. All the mileage is correct, and it drives on the key. Absolutely, flick of the key does what you want. So these are very, very hard cars to try and find now in either form.
Because the 123 is virtually a completely different car. I know they're based on the W123 saloons, but the C123, I think it's got an extra 400 different kind of parts on it.
They have, yeah, and when you look at the design of the pillarless windows, that C chrome that goes all the way around, that is just non-existent now. You just can't get that bit of chrome anymore now with them. So they are quite unique. They did a 230C, which is a non-injection model. Then they brought the CE out. Then they got the 280 CE. So, it's a sweet little 4-cylinder engine. It'll bomb along all day long.
Who was buying these cars when they were new then? Because they were obviously posher variants of the saloons they were based on. So what kind of customer was going after them?
From what I can see from a 560, you would have been very well heeled. And probably the old term is it would have been old money. These cars in these days, this is before when cars were financed. This was old money. That would have been racing drivers of the 1970s and the 1980s. You look at the back catalogue of the owners of these cars, Ayrton Senna, Nigel Mansell, they all own these cars. They were going from one racetrack to another. They were tearing across Europe in these and it was only the 560 they had to have. So the full European 300 horsepower engine is what the ones they had. So it would have been well-heeled people. It would have been the MD, the CEO of today would have owned a car like that, because if you put that in today's money, you're into a few quid. Whereas the 123, I think that would have probably fell into similar lines. It probably would have been, the boss of the company would have had it.
Because on the 560 SEC, that was the car that Bruno Sacco chose. So the designer of the car chose that car as his company car.
It was, until his last years, he still owned one to this day. And it was actually in I think if I'm rightly saying, it was in Astral Silver that he had. So it must have been a car that was kind to his heart, that he had, and the shape and the design. It was pure Bruno Sacco.
So these were the very top of the tree then, in this case, of the Mercedes model lineup.
Equivalent of car of today would have been a CL63, a CL65. You couldn't buy a bigger engine Merc of that time, apart from the 600 Grosser that was out, and it was obviously done its time and it had moved on. But that was the biggest engine that they made at the 560. Was it really necessary? Of course it was. Mercedes wanted to have the biggest engine, and it was a statement of what they could build. So I think the 560 was the king of all coupes.
So let's go and have a poke around them. Let's just walk out into the sunshine and have a look at, first of all, the 230CE, the C123. Can we just do that classic Mercedes thing of clunk the door and see what they sound like?
Everybody needs to do a Mercedes door, don't they? That's
That
proper
is
solid.
Super solid, isn't it?
They are, yeah, it is. And even with the Pillarless as well, you don't get the scuttle shake of the car. They're big doors on coupes, but you haven't got to slam these cars. Just an effortless thud, and they just close beautifully.
Because when Jaguar did their Pillarless coupe, the XJC, they had to work on it for 2 or 3 years because it kept on leaking, kept on letting in water. I doubt whether that's a Mercedes problem, isn't it?
Probably is if your seals are worn all now and they're all perished, and they are now, and you've got to replace them. But no, I mean, they were, when you take one of these cars to pieces, whichever format of coupe you have, you can see the design that's gone into them, and that's why they're so tricky to try and fix. It's because there's a seal inside a chrome and a chrome inside an outer seal, and all those seals now they're all perished, and they're very difficult to get hold of. And the problem you get is if you don't fit new old stock genuine seals, proper Mercedes seals, the glass won't fit properly.
So this has got a rare factory sunroof. It's got a kind of, what colour do we call that interior? It made me think of an Allegro from the 1970s straight away.
Very much so, and I think even when you look at the perforations in it as well, even think they almost copied it the same.
Because it's that great MB Tex, isn't it?
It is. Now, if there was a nuclear war, the seats would still be showing at the end of it in one of these. It's like a terracotta, really, is the actual, I think they call it henna red, is the correct term, code in the data card. MB Tex, as we know, it always retains its shape. It never looks, the seat squabs always retain their look, a good old soapy clean, and they look like brand new again.
So this was very different from the kind of humdrum W123 saloon that was the Berlin Taxi. This just separated the market a bit and just made you look a bit posher.
It did, and I think, when you see them now, even on the road, then, and they always stood out and they were quite special. And now you don't see them at all, So when you do see one on the road, you think people probably not seen many of them, even though they made 30,000 of them. They made in coupes. When do you see a 123 coupe on the road anymore? Such a classic design.
Right, should we take this one for a spin then? Because it's just aching to be driven out. It's perfect, this car. I can't see a single thing wrong with it. How many miles has it got?
It's done 54,000 miles, and they are all genuine with the service book right the way through. So it has had a major overhaul on suspension and brakes and steering. It was done with W123 wheeled all underneath, so stripped, powder coated, cleaned. As far as I can see, the paintwork is original, and I can vouch that in a few areas. But yeah, mileage is lovely, and everything just seems to be balanced across the car.
Right, let's get inside. This interior looks like it came out of the factory. There's not a mark on it anywhere.
I think the wood all came out and it all got hand polished when it went in for its renovation. So you tend to find that some of the wood on the upper part of the switches on 123s, due to the heat, used to peel off. But this is just, everything fits just right on it. If you look at the switches on the windows, you see how bright all the decals are, you know.
Barely looks like somebody's touched those. And also, a Blaupunkt Cambridge. Is that the original cassette player?
Well, it's got the manual in the history file, so I think it is.
So this is the 4-cylinder engine, is it?
Yep, it's a 2.3, a 4-cylinder engine, single overhead cam, fuel injection. So it's quite a straightforward engine. And some sort of say that they prefer this to the 280. I think it's a choice of your own, really, whatever engine you've driven. But yeah, a little buzzy little 2.3, 4-cylinder, and it just does the job.
It's very interesting to sit in a fresh 123, isn't it? Because some of them can feel quite baggy, the saloons, if they've done 150, 200,000 miles. But the seats here are lovely and solid. Armrests are beautiful. Carpets are spot on. Door cards are really nice. There's nothing wrong with this car, is it? It's even got the extra factory sunroof.
It has, and I think the owner who owns this car currently, he was one of these fastidious owners who just wanted everything to be right.
It's beautifully ticking over at about 800 RPM, so let's take it for a little ride. Just get the seatbelts on. It's funny when you turn over and look at your left shoulder, because I'm sitting in the passenger seat, it's just the coupe.
Yeah.
Right, drop it into D and we're off. Super quiet engine for a 4-cylinder, isn't it?
They are, and you can, the guy drove this up all the way from Epping in East London, in one day, in that blazing heat that we've just recently had. And, the temperature gauge never moved. He sat on the motorway at 70, 75 mile an hour, which is incredible, really, for a 1982 car.
Unlike modern cars, you sit quite high in a 123, so you just get a slightly better view, and of course you see the Mercedes gun sight down the bonnet.
It is a more elevated driving position, I think, with all 123s, and lovely, nice, big, squidgy seats.
So what's the gearbox on these? We've got the windows down, so you'll be able to hear some wind noise and some road noise. Is this a 4-speed or a 3-speed?
Yeah, it's a 4-speed, so you've got a reasonably good cruising ability. So, if you're doing 70 miles an hour, you're going to be doing 3,500 revs. So, it's and it doesn't feel in the cabin that it feels like it's having to work hard.
The big difference I noticed from coming over here in mine, an R107 SL, is how much tighter this is. Obviously, because it's got a roof, the chassis is a bit stronger, it doesn't have that slight scuttle shake. It's a very together feeling car.
I've always liked coupes. I think, one, because I'm quite tall, and you've got a lot of leg room in the seats, and you've still got that big open feel with a sunroof. And I think by having that, yes, you don't get so much of the scuttle shake, if any, with a Pillarless coupe.
Yeah, it's a lovely smooth engine, this, isn't it? It's actually a lot smoother, the 4-cylinder, than I expected it to be.
The 4-cylinder is really, really refined for a 4-cylinder car. It just seems to suit it. It's easy to fix. It's better on fuel. It's just such a smooth engine.
I'm always a bit of a car engine snob, and I'd always take the biggest engine you could get, so I expected the 6-cylinders to be up there and the 4-cylinders to be slightly the poor relation, but I wouldn't say I could tell, to be honest.
I think with cars that are so rare like this now, you've got to go on condition. You've got to buy the best cars that are out there, and I think if it's a bonus of a 6-cylinder you want, then great, but I think you've got to go with really the pure condition and maybe the colour and the mileage, because there's just not enough of them to go around now, and they're just too expensive to restore. So as much as we all like bigger engines in certain cars, but a 2.3 in this, it's more than happy to live with as a classic car.
Right, we've just pulled up to a junction of a main road. Let's see what we can get out of this engine then. Right. It's changing at 4,000. Holding on to 4,000. It's really nice. Handles really well.
Cruise is nice, doesn't it? So that's 65 miles an hour at 3,000 revs, on an A road, and we're all hanging on for dear life.
Right, dropped into D. traffic behind is cleared, and then we're off. Now what I notice about this car straight away is just how fresh it feels. It's virtually got no hint of being used at all. Everything feels really tight, the steering's right. Actually, when you accelerate at 4-cylinder, it's not quick, but it's rapid. It's kind of swift, and it feels a lot more responsive as a 4 than I'd expect. And actually, just the change into 4th, it's a very smooth gearbox, isn't it? Lovely smooth gearbox. Brakes are really tight, and actually it does kind of handle. Just coming over a bit of a crest here, dab the brakes. Yeah, this is nice. What I think about this car is it just feels so fresh. It feels like it's virtually brand new. You can't feel any kind of wear in it anywhere. Turns nicely, doesn't scuttle shake. You've obviously got the big steering wheel in front of you, so it feels a bit like a bus driving position, but actually as a driving car, it's really nice and just really easy. It's got that Mercedes fluidity about it, where you don't really have to drive it. You're just kind of guiding it along, and it's relaxing. It's got lots of airflow around it, because obviously all 4 windows are down, the sunroof's open. Oh yeah, this is nice. This is a lovely summer cruiser. You wouldn't describe it as a sports car, but it's a great cruiser. I really like this. I've been educated as to how smooth a 4-cylinder on these is, so let's have a look at it. Pull open the bonnet. And actually there's a lot of space in there, isn't it? It's not exactly lost in there, but there's a lot of spare space because it's designed also for a bigger 6.
You can almost climb in there really and work in the engine bay while you're in there. It does look a little bit lost in there, but as you say, you know, it's a very smooth little engine, and this M102 engine as it is, it's just 2 cylinders short really of an M103 of a 300 engine. That's really all it is. It's just 2 cylinders missing off the front end. But great to work on, easy to work on. Any really DIY mechanic can take the plugs out on this, get to the hoses and the radiator. There's no fiddling about with your hands in there. There's loads of room.
Now we've driven the 4-cylinder, the kind of economy car, the pillarless economy car. Let's go and have a look at the daddy, the 560 SEC, because that's right next to us. Let's go and sit inside that first of all and see what it's like. I'm just sitting into the velour of the 560 SEC. Now this is a very different kind of feel, isn't it? Because where the 123 is a bit, it's not Spartan, but it's not overly luxurious. This is actually got luxury written all over it.
Yeah, I think these were the prestige coupes of the time. You know, you look at the wood pack and look, it's just loaded with buttons that some people don't even know really what they mean. But it's good to have a switchboard full of buttons and a nice square button Becker Mexico radio filling it all up in the middle, even though you've got some choice of cassettes. But yeah, they just loaded these cars with all the extras, with cruise control, air conditioning, electric seats, electric sunroof, electric steering column, 4 electric windows, you know. And there were other options as well that you could choose on these. You know, it's got lumbar seat adjustments on the seats. I think some had electric blinds in them. So yeah, they're very well appointed cars at that time.
What's that button with a horn symbol?
That one there actually is a 2-tone horn. So you've got a town horn and a city horn.
Can we give that a try?
Of course.
Hang on, so what's this setting on now?
That is the city horn.
Right, switching it to country. Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it? Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Also, obviously got the 4 electric windows, the mirror manoeuvring,
Yeah.
and you've got a massive, great, big, old-fashioned telephone, isn't it? I don't even know what model that is.
No.
And tucked down here, down the side, next to the seats, there's the lumbar support. So what did this do?
You've got A, B, C, D, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So the bottom one is the base seat,
Okay.
and then the top one is the back seat. So it's basically, it pumps air into the seats to give you more support on the base and on the back.
God, what an amazing thing to go wrong.
It is an amazing thing to go wrong, yeah. And it, you know, and we haven't physically tried every switch and button on these to see, you know, what it's actually doing. But it's a Merc, and I'm sure it's all fixable and it's easy enough to do.
Let's recline the seats slightly. Of course, they're electric seats, aren't they? So the controls are on the door. If you flick the ignition on, oh yeah. Oh, the butler's arm has come out from the side and offered me the seatbelt. That's very posh, isn't it? You don't actually need to lean back to get your own seatbelt. Right, so it's hissing. Is that the aircon hissing coming on?
Yeah.
Oh, you see, the V8 sounds so much better, doesn't it?
does.
I like the 4-cylinder. I much prefer the V8.
Yeah. These cars, there was no choice. 4.2, 5 litre or 5.6, you had to have a V8.
So again, a pillarless coupe, so you've got lots of space out behind and no glass, and again a factory sunroof. But this one, whereas the W123 was very smooth for a 4-cylinder, this is just beautifully creeping forward in that kind of V8 burble.
You need a V8 in a car like this. It's weighing 1800 kilos, so it's going to need a good old shove to get this thing to move along. But you've only got to just breathe on the accelerator pedal, and it just glides along really easily with them. And I think that's the difference with a lot of the 4-cylinders. You've got to keep the pot stirred up. You've got to keep it moving, whereas the V8s, I always say the car drives you when you drive the 4-cylinder.
Now this one, whereas the 123 was kind of turning over at 800 RPM, this is barely 500 RPM, and actually the gearbox has got an extra switch on it which says B. What does the B stand for on the gearbox?
That really locks it into second. So if you're going down a hill, or you're going to tow, or you're going down a steep hill, you put it into 2, and then you lock it into B, and it locks it into second. It won't change out of second gear. It will lock it into that gear.
While you were talking, we're just going around some bends, and this really does handle, doesn't it? It corners very flat.
It does, yeah. 560 as well. It has self-leveling suspension as well on the back, so
It does feel very good though. It feels very tight.
73,000 miles for a big V8 engine like this. It's barely running. You know, the engines, you take the rocker boxes off when we did the rocker cover gaskets, and the cams are like brand new in there, you know. So it's the motorway speeds that you're doing at 60 miles an hour in this car, you're just about ticking over 2,000 revs, you know, so there's no real stress on the engine.
What's amazing about this car is how modern it feels, because it's 40 years old, but this feels super modern. You wouldn't be able to tell blindfolded that this was an old 40-year-old car.
Yeah, Mercs have always been good on the big saloons and the big coupes from the 80s and the 90s. You know, they made this car up until 91. I think there might have been some stragglers of 92. So, you know, it went then into the W140 model, and it was a whole different ball game of conversation. But these were just so well made, and the suspension. You look under this car, under the ramp, and look at all the different arms and stabilizer bars that they've got linked to the suspension to make it drive like it does. You can see why it's so smooth. They've taken away all that shaking and from the steering. It just feels so compliant on the road. It just does feel very modern.
Right, we've pulled the bonnet release to have a look at the engine here, and up it goes. Oh yeah, there's no space there, is there? This is crammed into the engine bay. It's a big V8.
It is, and there's no fancy black covers either. You know, we can see all the workings of all the throttle linkages and where all the HT leads are. As today, it's just one big plastic mould on top of it. One thing you noticed on the 560, it had 2 of the snorkels, as we call them, of the air induction. The 500 never had it. It had a shorter one, so the 560, that's how you could tell really it was the bigger engine. But yeah, loads of pipes, loads of wires, loads of vacuum pipes and belts, and you can see all what's going on.
And also the heat. It's a hot day, but the heat coming off this big V8 is enormous, isn't it? Having to slightly step back from the furnace. But actually, I can see the 2-tone horns there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there they are.
What a great looking engine bay.
You have a chance of trying to find something to fix here as well, because you've got various different sensors and loads of vacuum pipes all coming into one area. And the only problem is with these, due to age and as they move, one pinhole in one of those vacuum pipes creates an enormous problem to try and find. But yeah, it's typical Mercedes of the 1980s of that time.
We've just walked into the shade, and both cars are staring at us. Both Astral Silver, both pillarless coupes, both very different cars, aren't they?
You know, the question is, which set of keys would you pick up?
I love the class of the C123 because it just looks timeless. It's got that 123 elegance to it. And I was really impressed with the 4-cylinder engine. But there's no way I could not pick up the keys of a V8.
I agree. It'd be one of these cars, even still today, if you saw that in your mirror on the outside lane of the motorway, you would hurriedly put your indicator on and shovel over the other side, where you probably won't get that with a 123.
They're both, 40, 45 years old now. What are they like?
The 123, once you've got them right and they are set up right as what that one is, it's very little maintenance, to live with. You're just going to do regular oil changes and spark plugs like any normal classic car of its time, and it will just soldier on for years on end and do galactical miles. So the 123 is going to be quite a good, I wouldn't say it's a starter classic, but from a Mercedes point of view, if you buy it right and you get it right the first time round, it's going to be an enjoyable car. The 560, that's a rare beast. They're such difficult cars to try and find now, and there is huge differences between that and a 500. So, to find a full-blooded 300 horsepower 560, now it's a complicated car. Same again, you buy a good one, everything's sorted and it's right, it will just soldier on forever and it will keep working. But, it's got self-leveling suspension system, limited slip diffs. So it's a lot more of an expensive car.
And the Pillarless design, they really do make these two cars stand out because they're both based on saloon counterparts, but they don't look anything like the saloons, really, do they? They look fantastic.
Even today, across all makes and models of cars, and the Jaguars and the Bentleys, the Coupe, the price difference between that and the saloon was huge in money, what they are. And, would you really carry anybody in the back of any of these cars? You probably never will, and that's why the back seats always look brand new in them. People can't be bothered to clamber in the seats, as they are. They were just a two-seater car, really, with two doors.
Now, I had my choice. Which would you take home?
I'd have the 560. I did used to own one many years ago. They were always a car of my heart from when I was a child, the 560 was. Not necessarily the 560, but the SEC in general. I've always loved big coupes. I'd pick up the 560 and I would think nothing of jumping in that car and taking it to Italy tomorrow.
But I suppose the runner-up prize is the 230 CE, so it's a lovely car to end up with, isn't it? It just doesn't have the presence.
What amazes me is with both these cars is the cost of restoration is huge on either of these two cars, but the price difference between the retail figure on these two cars is not massively different, if I'm honest. I mean, the 230 CE is a beautiful example. Everything about it, it needs for nothing. It's on the key, it's ready to go. But you jump into the 560, and there's a few things we've got to do. We've got to sort this out and sort that out and get it pin sharp. But in my opinion, is the 560 is always going to be the winner.
Thanks, Bruce. Both those cars will be for sale at classicbenz.co.uk. Now, the Pillarless design faded out when cars just had to be stronger, stiffer inside impacts, quieter and more aerodynamic. It's a real shame because they were beautiful designs emerging from humdrum saloons. However, they do make great classics now.
Don't forget, you can find us at The Tyre Kickers UK on Instagram and The Tyre Kickers on Facebook.
That's it for this special edition. Hope you enjoyed it. Matt's back next time, so see you soon. Goodbye.